Yeah, we decided to just go ahead and start because we probably could have started this, 3 minutes into the second quarter, somewhere around then. It is the Project Game Day post-game show. The Ravens obliterate the Dolphins in the season opener. And again, the question will remain is, by the way, I'm Glenn Clark, and he is Ken Zalis.
Hello.
Joins us here in week one. KZ, the question that we talked about at the half, because there was already not much to talk about at that point, was the one that I feel like we're going to be talking about for the next week around town. This is the dominant topic coming out of this game. On the scale, or on the pie chart, whatever you want to make out of it, how much of this, what happened today, was about the Ravens versus how much of it was about the Dolphins? And we know there's no correct answer, but I'm going to make you make a guess. What is your guess as to how much of this was about the Ravens versus how much of this was about the Dolphins?
So I'm going to compare this to our beloved college team, the Maryland
Okay.
Terrapins. And I saw a lot of people after Maryland beat Howard 79-0 in week one. Oh, this is great. The offense looks fantastic. And I'm like, they played Howard.
Yeah, they need to play a real team, right?
Howard may give the Dolphins a game. I don't know because, look, Miami's doing this on purpose. I saw Josh Soroka, kind of compare this to the Orioles. And that's what Miami's doing this year. They want high draft picks. They want the number one overall pick. They want to get a quarterback, and they want to rebuild their franchise. And the only way to do that sometimes is not to finish 7-9, 8-8, and pick at 10 or 15, is to pick in the top 1 or 2 every single round and get picked. So there are lots of positives. No matter who was on the field, it was under fire. Lamar looked great. I mean, great isn't even a good enough word for how
everything
fantastic.
Looked great.
Everything,
but
one of the biggest questions, the question to me coming into the game wasn't going to be, were the Ravens going to be able to run? You knew they were going to be able to run. My thing was how much of an improved Lamar Jackson did we see? Now, going up against the Dolphins, he looked fantastic. Now, were there people wide open? Sure, but he made some terrific NFL-caliber throws all game long. He looked calm. He looked in control of this offense. When he needed to move around in the pocket, we know he's always going to be able to do that. On the defensive side, there's nothing for me to learn here. They didn't face an NFL offense. Next week, I don't know if you're going to face a different offense. I still don't know if it's a NFL offense. We'll see what happens with the Cardinals when they face the Lions this afternoon. But you have to show me. Maryland in week 2 took on a ranked Syracuse team and looked absolutely dominant. I want to see the same thing from the Ravens next week, that this can't be that they all of a sudden, can't score, can't run, Lamar can't complete a pass, and then it is the Miami Dolphins. But you have to be impressed. You have to be if you had some concerns. Like, if Lamar went out today and they put up this type of game, but it was all on the ground and Lamar was 5 for 10 and looked bad and lost a fumble and threw a couple balls in the dirt, then we'd all be up in arms and say, oh, it's great that they won. But, well, it's great that they won. They won in convincing fashion, and that's fantastic. But for me now, it's next week because I don't think the Dolphins are good. I don't think that they may win one game. I doubt they win 2 this year.
So as my buddy Pete Gilbert pointed out, a reminder that the Ravens a year ago in their season opener beat the Bills 47-3. What did that end up meaning long term? Very little, clearly, after that game. So it's not – I'm going to address a couple of things you brought up, but I'll start with one game is one game in the NFL.
It is.
One game does not a sample make. One game does not tell you, hey, this is what you need to know about the Baltimore Ravens. Now, that being said, it doesn't diminish it either.
It doesn't.
It doesn't mean that you say, well, just throw this out. This is completely worthless, and it's just one game does not a sample make. And you didn't, by the way, answer. You did a great job of taking the question that I asked and talking for like 5 minutes,
fantastic,
and not ever actually answering the question, which is incredible.
Which shows that I've been doing this a really long time.
You never actually bothered to answer the question that I posed to you, which was an opinion question. It's not like there's a right or a wrong.
And it's an impossible. And as
I know it's impossible.
It's impossible for me.
There's no correct answer.
So there's not. So,
but give me a gut. Your gut is this is blank percent about the Ravens, blank percent about the Dolphins.
This is 40% about the Ravens, 60% about the Dolphins.
Humorously, I might be the flip side of that
because I the Dolphins are hard. I mean, they're that bad.
I understand what you're saying.
They're that bad. I mean, It's sort of like I don't like this meal, but it was prepared really well. Like, I don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
It was prepared really well.
Right.
And it made me like it. So how much of it is, how much am I liking it?
You know it's a good meal.
I know it's a good meal, but
it's just not your favorite
It's not my favorite meal.
Right.
So I know this was really good. Okay? I mean, it's 59 points, 59 points. They probably could have scored 80 if they wanted to, and if they kept the foot on the gas pedal. But I just think that the Dolphins are that bad that I need to see more. So I'm going to say 40% this is the Ravens and 60% this was who they were playing.
Okay, so the reason why I think I'm a little bit on the flip side, there's a couple of things that you mentioned that jumped out at me. One, and I'm in a different camp, right? My Lamar Jackson question was not necessarily about whether or not he could throw the ball, right? As I said over and over, we knew the answer. He could throw the ball in the middle of the field. That if you were asking that question, you were asking the wrong question. The question was twofold, right? Could he either improve throwing the ball outside the numbers, or could the Ravens design an offense that essentially said, we know what Lamar Jackson does well, and that's what he's going to do, and we're not going to throw the ball outside the numbers anymore. We're not those Derek Mason routes of years past. They're out of the offense. That type of stuff is not going to be what we do. Well, through one game, I didn't get the answer on the first one.
No.
Because Lamar didn't throw the ball outside the numbers, with one exception on a rollout to the right where he did not, the one incompletion he had in the first half, where it wasn't a good throw, right? It wasn't a good throw, but it wasn't like egregious.
Right.
Okay. He didn't put the ball on but it wasn't a good throw. It wasn't a catchable ball,
correct.
Right? So I didn't get that answer. I didn't get the answer as to whether or not Lamar had gotten better at throwing the ball outside the numbers, which was the one thing that every time somebody, the day that I went out to training camp and every time anybody was out of training camp and talking about how good Lamar looked throwing the ball, I always said back, okay, great, but I know he can make those throws. We've watched him make those throws. I'm not worried about that. Not even the deep ball. When people would bring up the deep ball, I'd say, I've seen Lamar throw the ball deep in the middle of the field.
That's all he did in college.
He can do that well. I'm not worried about that. The question was, can I see growth to the outside, or could I see an offense? Well, today they designed an offense that didn't involve needing to throw the ball outside the numbers. At no point did they feel any need whatsoever, down the field, intermediate, nothing, to throw the ball outside the numbers. It was not part of the game plan today. Does that mean it won't be part of the game plan in the next 2 to 3 weeks? Don't know. But that's still a question that lingers for me after today, right? It lingers. Is there improvement in that department? Is it going to matter if there isn't? And I think both questions are very relevant, because I think it's totally possible that you can continue to design an offense where, frankly, we would have liked to have seen more use of the middle of the field in past years in Baltimore that didn't necessarily occur. So that's one of the things that jumped out at me today.
And I was going to bring that up. And I agree with you. I mean, we all know that's not his strong suit. They didn't have to do it today. But what I liked, and with Lamar, and even going backwards with Joe, is like, can we throw a slant? Can we throw a quick slant to somebody as fast?
These are the types of things that I've always wondered.
We've always wondered. It's like, why?
Again, not gonna. A lot of questions I'm never gonna get answers to.
I know. But it's like, the first touchdown pass to Brown, he threw the ball 2 yards and it's gone. Right. It's like there's no one there, and it's like, and that's the encouraging part to me about the offense, is like, I just want to see them utilize. They have a lot of guys that can utilize the middle of the field. Andrews today is killing them over the middle. Hollywood Brown is he is just a dart and is maybe the fastest guy on the field at any point. We didn't even get to see what Justice Hill can really do in this game, because they really didn't need to use him. But that's another weapon that they can utilize. And, the screen game that
Right.
we've all been asking for. So there are a lot of encouraging things, but I agree with you. There are going to be questions. There's going to be a time where teams are going to get into the middle of the field, and you got to throw the outside.
Some of this also happens, like you stayed ahead of the curve all day.
Yes.
When the game mattered, you started with a 50-yard run, right? You were ahead of the curve at every moment. You were able to throw everything that you wanted to throw at your opponent. At no point did your opponent offer anything that forced you to, reconsider something or look into your game plan or your strategy. You were just able to do anything you wanted at will today. And somebody would say, hey, great, right? Like that's a sign of a great game plan. That's a sign of, and that's all well and good. But the point being, when I say that, like at some point this year, you're going to go to do something. It's not going to be there. The question will be, in playing that chess match, do you have the next move that you can go to? Today, you didn't have to. Today, you could just keep doing all of those things exactly how you wanted to at all points throughout the course of the game, so there was no concern in that department. I followed that up, sort of going back to what you were alluding to and about whether or not this is more. The big thing to me is that it was a continuation. I think the question for me about this team was, would we see more of what we saw from the Chargers, or would we see more of what we saw? Look, whoever the Dolphins are, as I said all along, and look, I thought it was really interesting what Jay Feely said that he was talking to at halftime about with Brian Flores, which was, yeah, okay, we're not playing well, but what I'm disappointed in is the secondary. The secondary, there's no reason for them to be this bad.
Correct.
And that's the thing that I kept trying to talk about. I was insane and picked the Dolphins to cover this week. I will take that one. It's the NFL, right? It's the NFL on the road. I
saw scenarios that was a possibility, but I couldn't.
I'll own it. Okay. I'll own it, right? But in part because, you look at who's over there, and when you have Xavier Howard, and when you have Rashad Jones, and when you have those types of football players, teams shouldn't just be able to walk out and throw the ball all over you and air raid you to death, which is what the Ravens did. So, for a year, teams were able to look at what the Chargers did and say, here's a blueprint.
Right.
Here's a strategy for how you can go about beating the Ravens, and yet it didn't come out and look like that again. And that's, to me, why I think this is a little bit more about the Ravens than it is about the Dolphins. I think this speaks to what they did, going back in, ripping up what Marty Mornhinweg had put in with 25-word plays and saying, we're going to simplify this. And again, that doesn't mean it's going to look like it every week or it's going to be this successful every week. But I think it's a sign of there was real change. There was an acceptance of, hey, if we just keep doing these things, then teams are going to catch up with it. Like, we have to have a next level to it. We have to have better playmakers on the field. We have to have things that we can go do. That was evident today. Mark Ingram, no offense to Gus Edwards, who did a nice job throughout the course of the year, but Mark Ingram is a much better overall running back at this point in his career. Marquise Brown, as you pointed out, is faster, is more talented overall than the guys the Ravens were trying to throw the ball to a season ago. That's a good sign. That's a good sign. Again, doesn't guarantee anything long term, but these are good signs about what could be coming. This is the Project Game Day post-game show, which we started just a bit early this week because obvious reasons. It's brought to you by Glory Days Grill. Catch all of the action at your neighborhood Glory Days Grill. They have tons of TVs to catch every moment of every game. Glory Days Grill, great food, good sports. I had a couple people bring up things like them having Lamar Jackson still run the ball in the second half. I know this is probably a question that you're asking me because I was the guy that screamed about Lamar running the ball in the preseason. As I said to you then, it's the regular season. I feel differently about it in the regular season. I get it. Yes, it was a blowout in the second half, but these are real games that actually matter and actually count. And if your guys are on the field in those real games, that's the play. You run the play that you run.
So Lamar ran the ball 3 total times today.
Right.
So for the person that may have been complaining about that, there was also someone, I think I responded to them on the halftime show, that said, why would you waste a fake field goal
punt,
a fake punt at that point? And I made the point, I was like, there are things you want teams to worry about.
Well, right.
Put it on film.
Right.
Put it on film. So now when they come out with that formation, maybe the receiving team doesn't have – they only have one person back, and they keep other people on the line, making it an easier situational punt or something like that. I don't mind. Every once in a while, you got to put something on film for other teams to worry about. And maybe it's a run in the second half that they'll never use for Lamar again. But, look, they did that on film. You got to watch the film, and another team's preparing for it.
So
I don't get overly concerned. I think they left enough in the bag.
Oh, I think there's no doubt
I
about
think
that.
they left
Right.
enough in the bag that they didn't show. But there are certain things that you came into this game. Well, we want people to be concerned about this in the future.
So the flip side argument to what you brought up with the fake punt, we addressed this at the half. There is a flip side argument to that, which is, okay, but there might be a time where you want to lull a team to sleep because that play could actually matter in an actual game, right? There could be at some point this season a game that you're trying to go win and it's close, and a team doesn't think about that thing that you put on film earlier on in the season. They do leave that soft spot in the middle of the field, and hey, that play that you ran today would have been there in 2 weeks, whereas now in 2 weeks when you need that play, it's not there because the Chiefs are thinking about it.
But the Chiefs are defending that, and all of a sudden your punter throws a 50-yard touchdown pass. I get
it's
both
a
sides
constant
of it.
game of chess.
I get to both sides.
The only issue I have, and I'll say this about everything, I have zero concerns about running up the score, about any of those things, whatever you want to call it. I have zero concerns about those things. This is the NFL. This is the National Football League. This is not middle school football. This is not somewhere where you worry about hurting anybody's feelings. This is an NFL football game. I am not remotely worried about running up the score. I'm worried about keeping my players healthy. I'm worried about making those types of decisions. Those are things like when you bring your backup quarterback in a blowout game. I'm not doing that based at all about whether or not I'm running up the score. I'm doing that more about, hey, what's best for my team? That's the only thought that I have whatsoever when I make a decision like that or the plays that I run in those situations. Any of that stuff, all I'm worried about is what's best for my team in that process. As far as okay, so this is something that we didn't get a chance to talk about at halftime, and we could have because we knew about it before the game. Chris brought up to me disappointment in Jalen Ferguson not being active to start the season. You got to figure out whether or not the Ravens have any young pass rushers. I liked a little bit of what I saw from Tyus Bowers today. Again, admittedly, I don't know if it was really about him or about the Dolphins. I mean, Bowser was fine today.
Bowser was fine. I thought Tim Williams was real good today. This is a Harbs thing for me, and Harbs doesn't like rookies. And I know
it's not about that he doesn't like rookies. He specifically does not. We say it's on him. It's not always on him.
Well,
in constructing their 46,
yes.
They have historically said if you are just a pass rusher, that we do not have a spot on the 46.
Right, because you don't play special teams.
Correct. That's not new.
Still a huge problem for me because you have two of the best punter. You have the best punter and best kicker in the NFL. And first of all, special teams. Every time I saw today, Justin Tucker kicked it into the end zone, so there was no need for special teams. And the punter, I think he punted once today, and I know you don't go into it like that. I get it. I was disappointed by that. I was also a little disappointed that Powers wasn't active, but because you want to see your rookies play and see how they look in a real game. And I get it, but I wasn't surprised. To me, that's been, since Harbaugh's been here, like you said, that's his MO. It usually happens to rookies. Look, Jaleel Scott was fantastic the entire preseason. Everybody's like, oh, well, maybe they found something. He's inactive, and
part of the reason he got his roster spot is because of special teams.
So he's on the bench. So I think when it's close, that the rookie will always be inactive on a Harbaugh team.
Well, but Paul Kruger had to deal with that into his third year. I don't think that it's that simple.
I simplify it a little bit.
I think it tends to be if you're a one-trick pony.
Okay.
We don't always have a spot for you.
Depends
here.
what the trick is for me.
Well, it certainly does. There's no doubt about that.
If Ferguson has a good trick, I'd like to see the good trick.
Right. I don't know if he's there yet as far as that being his trick. I don't know if his trick is at a point yet where you feel that need. I don't know what your
when this happened.
Oh, I don't know. I haven't been paying attention.
Last time I looked, the Jets were up 16-0. Now they're down 17-16.
I honestly have not paid attention to much of anything else going on today. I really it hasn't interested me because I was watching a brilliant performance.
I was too, but
by the Baltimore
once it
Ravens.
was 42-3, I kind of perused.
Well, we had a post-game show to do, Casey.
I know,
Where
but
were
I
you?
perused. I had the double screen on.
All right. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a short break. I need 2 minutes to tell you about all of our great partners. When we come back in, we're going to start looking ahead to the Arizona Cardinals and start looking ahead to things that we still want to learn about this football team that unfortunately we didn't get to learn, but for a very good reason today we didn't get to learn them. So that's what we're going to do. It's the Project Game Day postgame show, 59-10. The Ravens demolish the Dolphins today in Miami. We'll be right back. Give me 2 minutes.
Hey, this is Stan the Fan. You know we're all hoping for a special season out of our football team. When it comes to dining out casually and affordably, I know a place that is special every season. The Costas Inn at 4100 North Point Boulevard. Not only are they known all over for their great steamed crabs and crab cakes, they have a couple specials you want to keep in mind. Monday night is crab cake night. Tuesday night is ribs night. Wednesday night is steak night, partnered with half-price bottles of your favorite wines. And Thursday night is lobster night. So check out the Costas Inn this football season, and you may come back whatever the season. That's the Costas Inn, 4100 North Point Boulevard, 410-477-1975.
Need groceries today but don't have time to shop? Order online with same-day pickup or delivery at Wise Markets. Wise to go online. Now that's convenient.
This is Stan the Fan for Glen Burnie Transmissions, located right in the heart of Glen Burnie for almost 60 years. If you suspect you're having a transmission problem, GBT can save you hundreds of dollars over taking it to the dealers for a repair. Make an appointment for a free diagnostic and estimate. Call GBT at 855-728-1841. Their mission is simple: to provide excellent service at a reasonable price. Go to their website at gbt-online.com to check out all of the 5-star reviews. Let my friend Mark Schwartzman and his GBT team take the troubles out of transmission troubles. Call them today at 855-728-1841.
Respect. It's more than a word. In the U.S. Army, it is one of our core values, earned through selfless service to our nation and making a difference both at home and abroad. On the Army team, respect is earned daily. And now, in addition to earning respect, you may earn up to $40,000 in bonuses if you qualify. To learn more, visit goarmy.com/bonus or call 1-800-USA-ARMY, paid for by the U.S. Army.
Catch all of the action at your neighborhood Glory Days Grill, where we have tons of TVs to catch every moment of every game. Enjoy $5.99 burgers on Mondays, $5.99 nachos on Thursdays, and drink specials throughout the season to help you cheer on your favorite teams. Come in today and try something new from our seasonal menu. Glory Days Grill, great food, good sports. All right, back in here on the Project Game Day postgame show. Glenn Clark, Ken Zalis with you after the Ravens absolutely wreck the Dolphins today, 59-10 in Miami in the season opener. Next up, they return home. The home opener next Sunday, 1 o'clock against the Arizona Cardinals, who are playing the late game today against the Detroit Lions in the debut for Kyler Murray and Cliff Kingsbury. KZ, a couple of things for you. One, level of concern about a potential Jimmy Smith injury. He did come back to the sideline in the second half. He was standing on the sideline. We are awaiting word from John Harbaugh about what's going on there.
I mean, you have to be concerned. I know a lot of people will say, well, it's one of the deeper parts of the team, but you can't.
But whoever plays is a serious drop-off from Jimmy Smith.
Yeah, you can't lose a Tavon Young and then on top of it lose a Jimmy Smith and then say everything's hunky-dory and we'll be okay and next man up. I mean, Jimmy Smith, maybe he's not the best corner on the Ravens anymore. Maybe that is Marlon Humphrey, but he's a really good corner, and you rather go into battle with him than without him. So there's some concern. I mean, I know they like Anthony Averett. I know that they drafted Amon Marshall for a reason, and
obviously he's hurt.
He's hurt, but I mean, so they were aware that maybe they needed to be deeper there as well. But hey. You have two really good safeties. I think you can scheme it enough that you'll be okay without them. I mean, it's nice to have Brandon Carr able to fill in. He is not he's not from the scrap heap. He is a solid NFL corner. He's
Correct.
Not Jimmy Smith, but he's a solid NFL
And he never
corner.
misses a game.
Never misses a game, and it's one of the reasons when they signed him, I was like, okay, at least he'll be there every single time.
That's the way it works.
So, I mean, obviously it's not ideal. We hope that it's nothing serious. You don't know in a game like this if he could have come back into the game, because at that point you're not bringing him in even if you say, hey, Jimmy, you're okay. I think it's just maybe a helmet to a knee, and you just it's going to be a bone bruise or something like that. So we don't know, and but you have to be some concerned. You'd hate to be without him any length of time, especially next week against a team that's going to throw the ball, we assume, a whole lot.
Presumably.
And against the Chiefs the following week, it's not ideal.
Yeah, they're definitely going to be throwing the ball.
They're definitely going to throw the ball. So, I would say my level of concern is about at a 7 out of 10 right now.
Look, unfortunately, you had to be thinking about this in putting together your roster this season. This is Jimmy Smith we're talking about. He gets hurt. He misses games. He's been really good when he's been healthy in his career, but unfortunately, that's been the biggest part of the story, is that he misses games repetitively. So you had to be prepared for this when people were talking about various scenarios for this team. It was something that you always had to consider, is that Jimmy Smith was probably a likelihood to miss some games. You hope that's not the case. You hope this is not a big deal, but we will await word on that. Somebody wanted to know about all the various records the Ravens broke today. I couldn't possibly keep track of all of them. I know most points,
most first half points, most total points, most touchdown passes in a game.
That was
tied
by
five.
Player, right?
Five by
Five,
player.
Yeah.
5.
Do you know who the two others that did 5 touchdowns in a game are?
Well, I'm gonna guess one's Vinny.
No.
Joe.
Joe, of course. Yes.
Don't tell me it's Bowler.
Nope.
Who?
It's more random than that.
Troy Smith?
Tony Banks once threw 5 touchdowns in a game for the Baltimore Ravens.
The comeback game.
Exactly right. Tony Banks.
Yes.
The Jacksonville game.
Yeah.
Once threw 5 touchdowns in a game.
Oh,
for the
my God.
Baltimore
I would
Ravens.
never come up with his
Tony
name.
Banks. That's exactly right. Biggest margin of victory. Most offensive yards ever in a game, apparently, also among the many records, franchise records, the Baltimore Ravens broke today.
It's good that we got those out early in the year.
Knock them all out.
Knock them all out, and we can only go up from here.
Correct. Right. Now you have something to reach for. Exactly right. As the year goes on, now you can say, hey, we got to 600 yards. How about 700?
You have goals. You have goals.
No doubt about that. I like that a whole lot.
By the way, this just in. Tennessee's now up 43 to whatever the Browns have, 16.
And again, this is where we have to do the thing where we say, I know we're all going to – this week we are all going to be dancing and partying and laughing in their faces.
And they deserve it because of all the talk of the offseason.
But in the same way, it is also still just one game. By the way, I think the story of that one might also be the Titans. Like, we all like to forget that when Marcus Mariota was healthy a year ago, he looked good. He looked like a player a year ago when he was healthy. Unfortunately, this is a similar story to Jimmy Smith. He just couldn't stay healthy. Derrick Henry also looked really good in the second half of last year. I think the Titans were a
75-yard touchdown reception today.
I'm really angry. He was that guy that I thought I could get, in the 4th round, and nobody was letting him slip.
No, he did too well at the end of the year, and running backs were so thin.
No doubt about that. So yes, we're all going to laugh at the Browns, but again, keep in mind, in the same way that we have to say this is one game for the Baltimore Ravens, it is also one game for the Cleveland Browns, and so the season is far from over for them, despite the fact that this is obviously an embarrassing way for America's team to begin the season this year. From Rob. Rob got in. This was a little bit earlier on, and Rob asked, what did I think of... Sorry, Rob. I'm trying to read through this again and get exactly what it is, the wording. Oh, Rob said, what did you think of the fact that they went to Marquise Brown so often so quickly? Do you think that was to try to get other teams to think about it and bring more attention to him, or do you think that the plan is that Marquise Brown is going to be the focal point of the offense moving forward this season? That's an interesting question, Rob. I guess my answer would be both, right? A little bit of both. I don't think they went to him because they were just trying to screw with other teams. But is he like? Is he the guy? I guess he is, right? Like among the receivers, he's the guy. Like
he's the downfield threat.
Right.
I mean, he's like they made him the first wide receiver taken in the draft. I mean,
that is true.
I don't think they were putting something on film to. I mean, I think this has to be part of their offense. I mean, the quick slant. I mean, I don't think you needed to put that on film the first touchdown for anybody to have say, oh my God, they're going to use them that way.
Right, right. That's what Marquise Brown does. Right.
But the long pass. I mean, if he's 1-on-1 with no safety help, that ball's going to Marquise Brown a lot.
Yes,
this year.
He's very capable of burning. Yes.
I don't think that. I think he's one of the focal points. I think you saw early on in this game. I mean, when it's 0-0. You're trying to play. You're playing to win the game. Now it got out of hand quick, but you saw we're going to run the ball with Ingram. We're going to put Lamar in good passing situations and let him do what he does best with short, quick passes to guys that now have speed that can take it the distance, and using Andrews in the middle of the field. No, I just think that's going to be part of their offense. It couldn't have worked out any better,
obviously.
But I don't think they're like, oh well, let's just do this. So Arizona thinks that we're gonna target Marquise Brown all over the field. Yeah, you're gonna target that guy.
Correct. That's the plan. Yeah, that's the plan.
That's
moving
the plan.
Forward,
that's the
right.
plan. If you have somebody that's fast enough to keep up with him. Okay, good. You go to it, but we'll take our chances with that guy. I mean, he was targeted. I believe he was the target on the one ball thrown outside.
There were
the numbers.
a couple of times. Oh, the one bad throw. Yes, he was.
I mean, he was
there.
still targeted there.
Right.
So yeah, absolutely.
There were also a couple of these times. I don't know what it is about the Ravens. I don't know how this worked, but it seems like there are still like 3 plays a game where there's 2 receivers in the exact same area. When the ball gets there, I don't know how to explain it. It makes no sense to me.
It doesn't.
It seems to work out every time.
Well, it
somehow.
seems to. Yeah. I'll blame today's on the fact that you got 2 rookie wide receivers out there, and maybe they a little confused. But look. I mean, this is going to be their offense. Here's what I really liked about it is that they started Brown and Boykin. It's like those are your starting wide. They're your best
you're the guy who says
receivers.
they hate rookies.
I know.
You're the guy who says they hate rookies.
They don't play special teams, and after what I saw with Marquise Brown trying to field a punt, I hope I never.
Well,
see
I don't
him
think that'll be an option. Although I was really nervous after Justice Hill put the first kick on the ground.
Yeah.
I was like, okay.
Okay. But I just offensively they should be able with the youth that they brought in with Brown and Boykin and Hill and the speed to be able to play with a guy like Lamar that is a video game guy that just
that's the idea. Right.
You gotta have guys that can move with him, and then look what it does. It opens up the middle of the field. You got Hurst with a couple of catches. You got Snead. Look, I'll take Snead all the time on the 4th cornerback from another team any day of the week.
Matchup, right.
So it just allows you to do so many things. But I mean, they're early in the game. They're not. Let's throw this pass. So they think about it halftime. No, come on.
Paul, I hope Jimmy Smith will return soon, but hypothetically, if he's out for longer than expected, what do you think it would take to trade for someone like Patrick Peterson when he returns from suspension? More than likely, the Cardinals aren't going anywhere this season, and the Patriots will trade for him if the Ravens don't. Ha ha. I don't know what the Cardinals' plans are with Patrick Peterson. I can't speak to that. I don't think that's something that you're thinking about today.
No.
Obviously, the first thing is what's the story on Jimmy Smith? Where are you at with that? Secondarily, I think you set your sights lower if Jimmy Smith is hurt and out for some time. I think you set your sights lower first before you think about going a direction like that. I think you're first considering something like, hey, what's out there on the scrap heap that could actually be a depth move that could help us? Who's out there that could be a player for us that we don't have to give anything up for, that could come in and maybe is a bit of a surprise that could provide us some depth? I think you're looking a little bit lower at first. Now, if you get into the season and this is continuing to be an issue and it could end up being the difference in whether or not your team can win this year, then maybe you are starting to look around and considering options like that. But I just think that's so far down the road at this point that's not really even worth having the conversation. First of all, let's find out what the story is on Jimmy Smith.
Yeah, let's find out. And look, everything the Raven Eric DeCosta has done so far has worked out real well. So I'm gonna put it in his capable hands. It's not a terrible thought by him. I mean, look, the Cardinals are, if they could find, I'm not giving up a first-round pick for Patrick Peterson, which is what I'm guessing the Cardinals are probably asking for. I don't know what pick I'm comfortable giving up. Maybe a third or a fourth in that situation because I know they'll have extra ones. But you're not breaking the bank pick-wise or money-wise for I think in the situation that the Ravens are in because they do have a lot of depth there. I mean, they're not Patrick Peterson depth.
Right.
But they have a lot of depth.
A couple people pointed out that they're just particularly happy for Lamar Jackson after everything that he's put up, and that's fine. And I certainly you're happy for Lamar Jackson. I guess the flip side to that is today doesn't answer all of the questions. Today doesn't make it suddenly that Lamar Jackson's a top 5 quarterback in the NFL or something like that. He was damn good today, which is wonderful, and you hope that continues to be the case. But as I keep constantly trying to say, this thing that we do where like one thing happens and we say, well, that's proof that means, like, no, stop.
No.
That's not the case. But yeah, Lamar looked really good today, and you're happy for Lamar anytime he looks good because he's the Ravens quarterback and you want him to play well. As a couple people have also pointed out, unfortunately, all the other AFC North teams also get to play the Dolphins at some point this season. That is the kind of the one bummer about all of this is that everybody is going to get their crack at the Dolphins at some point during the course of the year. All right, Ken Zalis looking ahead to the Cardinals next week. I think a lot of people have already put that one in the win column as well. I understand even good Cardinals teams tend to struggle, even good West Coast teams tend to struggle when they come over to play 1 o'clock games on the East Coast, although that wasn't the case, obviously, for the Chargers in the playoffs a year ago. They were ready to go for a 1 o'clock game Eastern time. I'm sure that you're going to try to poke at a little bit of that game today. It's not the TV game around here, but what are you interested in seeing from the Cardinals as we start looking towards week 2?
I just want to see this offense. Kyler Murray, the air raid offense with Kingsbury. I just want to see it. They're going to supposedly throw the ball all around the field and have 5 wide receivers at some point on the field. They have a really good pass-catching running back. They don't have a tight end that I know of right now. Maybe Clay is still there. But,
he's the guy.
He's the guy.
Max
now.
Williams is also there, too.
Oh, Max Williams is there. Oh, revenge
yes.
game. Didn't think about the Max Williams revenge
game. There's somebody
factor.
else on that roster that maybe has revenge on
if he wanted to be a Raven, he'd be a Raven.
What does that mean?
It means they would have re-signed him, just he wanted to go home. It's okay.
They also didn't offer him that money.
Well, they didn't offer him as much money. But,
right, that's the way it works.
Okay,
you go where they offer you the money.
You want to go play at home, go play at home. I'm fine with it.
It's a very passive-aggressive.
I know, very.
I don't know what that was.
I know. Look, Suggs is coming back. That's fine. Let's hope it's not one of the 3 good games that he's going to have this year, and let's go on to it.
What is your beef with Terrell Suggs?
I don't know. He plays for the Cardinals.
I mean, you are going after him.
Look, there's nothing to discuss today. If we don't bring something to the show, it's very boring.
You are really after Terrell Suggs. Like, man,
I mean, everybody stand up and clap and give him the due that he
deserves.
Yes,
there will be a nice moment for Terrell Suggs.
A nice moment. And as soon as the ball snap goes on, it's over.
Well, I'm not saying that you're supposed to, love him. I mean, you still got to love Terrell Suggs because he's a good football player. But I'm not saying you're supposed to, hope for him to have 5 sacks next week. It's just I'm surprised by the shots
it's really weird. But going back to your question, without the fun part of it, we don't know what the Cardinals are. I mean, as much as we were talking about, well, what's the Ravens' offense going to look like this year, and new toys and things like that.
Right.
Nobody has any earthly idea. They didn't really show anything in the preseason, as no teams seem to do anymore. It's just one of those things that this is a true mystery game, and it's going to, if Jimmy Smith is out for next week, it is going to be a test for how much depth they have in the secondary right away, because they're going to bring 5 guys out there that you're going to have to cover. You're going to see a lot of nickel, a lot of dime from the Ravens next week, I would assume. based on what we think their offense is going to be. But yeah, I mean it'll be interesting to see. I mean the Cardinals are playing what I think is an improved Detroit team, especially on the defensive side. You know, once they traded for Harrison last year, they were tough to run against, and it really improved that overall football team. And we'll see. I don't think the Cardinal defense is that good, but the offense could cause problems, and you're going to have to not only get after Kyler Murray, but contain him. Yeah. It's very similar to what teams are going to be preparing for with Lamar. But they do. The one thing the Ravens have the advantage of is their scout team. I would assume
that's
that
a great point. Yes, that does help.
Can mimic that a little bit better than maybe Grant Minshew in Jacksonville.
Or Gardner Minshew. Sure, we'll go with that.
Or whatever. He looked good today.
He's probably going to have to be the guy for a little bit. By the way, John Harbaugh says Jimmy Smith does not have a season-ending knee injury scheduled for an MRI tomorrow. So that's what we... I mean, that doesn't mean that he's not going to miss time.
Okay.
Doesn't mean.
Okay, doctor.
John Harbaugh just says he does not have.
Did he stay at a Holiday Inn last night?
No idea. That's what
I'm just making sure.
No idea. All right, very good. That'll do it for this week. I want to thank all of our great sponsors who make Project Game Day possible, including Wise Markets, Glory Days Grill, the Costas Inn, Glen Burnie Transmissions, and the U.S. Army. Appreciate all of their support. Ken Zalis at Fans Fantasy on Twitter. You're joining me for week 2 as well, correct?
I am.
You're back
I'll
next
be back
week.
again.
Excellent. Looking forward to that. And, of course, between now and then, you'll be joining me on Thursday.
I will.
For the Pressbox Fantasy Football Show at 11:30 a.m. And you'll, of course, have plenty of fantasy football content throughout the week at PressBoxOnline.com as well. I'm back tomorrow morning for Glenn Clark Radio, 10 to noon. I believe Andrew Catalan, who called today's game for CBS, will be joining us. And I think Double J, Jarrett Johnson, is scheduled to check in with us as well. We'll get their thoughts on how much of this was about the Ravens, how much of it was about the Dolphins. Thanks to all of you for chiming in throughout the course of the day. I would say hopefully there's a little more competitive and making them a little bit more spirited, but the truth is... we probably be all right with
I thought this was fantastic.
16 shutouts throughout the course of the season would be just fine with or 16 blowouts. I mean, obviously it wasn't a shutout. All right, that's it. Have a great Sunday night. We will talk to you tomorrow for Glenn Clark Radio. This has been the Project Game Day post-game show from the Live Casino Hotel Studio.